Truth be told, when you come to Romania, a lot of people first tell you that, you know what, it's gonna be hard in the beginning, but you're gonna get used to it after a year. And that was something I constantly keep hearing. A lot of people may tell you that you're gonna get used to things in about 6 months, maybe even earlier, later, it depends. But most of them will be like, after 3 years. They will give a time frame, but they will never say what you're gonna exactly get used to. And that is why this video is gonna be about things I never got used to in Romania. So, for reference, I've been living here for almost 5 years, about 4 years and a few months now, and I have quite a lot to experience and a lot which I have experienced. And a lot of those which I have experienced also include the ones which still feel really new to me, okay? Things which I never really got to get used to, and I think it's gonna be really hard for me to get used to if I ever get used to them. First on my list is the early morning noises. Now, if you stay in an apartment, especially those who live in cities, it is very normal to wake up on a random summer morning and hear drilling noises. In fact, those are the noises which could possibly wake you up. And it doesn't happen just once, twice. It happens very randomly without no warning, nothing. And yes, it is very annoying. Apart from that, there are many noises such as the neighbors, let's say yelling and all that, and conversations being quite audible. So if you do not know how to mind your business, unfortunately, maybe you might like the drama, but for me it's just pure noise. And it's not just in the blocks or in the apartments, but also in houses, and it depends on where you live in. Like maybe your house is quite isolated, so you're not gonna really hear much noises. But if you live in the city and you have noisy neighbors, unfortunately, that's on you. But this is just, I guess, something a lot of Romanians seem to experience. Second on my list is the language. Now, I know that after a couple of years you could get a bit fluent, but not in my case. The truth is, ever since I came here, okay, I love Romania, I love staying here, but the language is something that I did learn the grammar, I did learn for an exam, I did learn, how to communicate, but I still can't seem to express myself sometimes, or to understand maybe certain words, or maybe Romanians could decide to be a bit too formal or use other ways of saying specific things. So yeah, I still find it really hard to get used to it and express myself freely. I'm also an introvert, so that could maybe count, but yeah, I still find it really hard to find the words. Third on my list, the stairs. You go out, you're minding your business, especially when I have my hair out. Nowadays, braids are very common in Romania, even to Romanians. So when I move in braids, like Romanians just basically go on with their day, I'm wearing braids fine, they see it every summer. But when I wear my hair out, they look at me like someone who's different. And that always brings stares. Sometimes people confront you, and basically, it's just curiosity. I understand that it is curiosity and it's not really their fault, but unfortunately, I do not like those kind of stares that people stare deep in your soul, like you're just someone different. Like you just can't seem to blend in easily, unfortunately. This usually gets worse when you're using the public transportation, which I do as a high school student, so I don't really have an option because a lot of old people are the ones who usually stare. And old people here, for everyone, whether you're different or not, they are always staring and will always find a reason or no reason to stare. That is why Romanians somehow call them the natural CCTV cameras. So, another one on my list here is being seen as different. Now, this one is quite similar, but yet so different from what I mentioned earlier about the stairs. And this one is mainly that people will always have it in mind that you are that person who came from this country, and somehow, depending on where you come from, you will either be devalued or very valued in their eyes, okay? Like if they hear that you're someone who maybe came from, Canada or the United States and all that, you're highly respected. And if you're someone who came from somewhere like Africa or Asia, they might make some dumb jokes, and also you always find yourself being seen as kind of different. And some Romanians don't tend to know when to speak, what to say, and how to say it. Like every chance they get, they always sort of, indirectly targets you based on your identity or something like that. So it's very uncomfortable. Like in school, they're always gonna have it in mind that, okay, you're from this place. How is it there? Maybe when they mention your country, you have all eyes on you. And if your country does have a bad reputation, for them, they're gonna, silently mock you if they're not well trained at home. But yeah, that's basically the kind of difference I mean. Some people might also kind of think that you're incapable of doing certain things, or maybe you're gonna have either a very easy and smooth time having friends or a very, very hard one. So it really sort of depends on your personality a lot. But one thing is that a lot of people may think that you're incapable of doing certain things, like maybe being in public spaces if you don't know how to speak Romanian very well, or maybe they will always think that you can't do Romanian things just like them. They're always gonna think that maybe you're not gonna learn. A good example would be that when I was in middle school, I always found it very difficult to speak Romanian compared to now. I mean, like I said, that I still find it's quite difficult to express myself sometimes, but I can express myself most of the time at least. And they are still shocked that I can speak Romanian. Some of them, they do not still believe that I can speak Romanian, and that is why each time we meet, we always somehow speak in English, because that was how it always started and it has always been. And for them, us speaking in English is just their way of learning English as well. But when we go out together and maybe I need to order something or, buy something, they always like, do you need help, communicating, or maybe finish my sentences, which I didn't ask for, but I still appreciate it. So, yeah, I think that's the kind of difference I'm talking about, inferior rating in a way, unfortunately. And the last thing that I still haven't gotten used to, and maybe not, is the whole hype of Sarmale. The whole hype of Sarmale is just, I don't really understand it, okay? I come to a country where almost all the food tastes really good. Like there's a lot of seasoning. It just tastes that good. So the first time I tasted sarmale, I expected it to be wow. Like I'm talking about jollof rice kind of wow, or even more, because if you hadn't eaten sarmale and a Romanian heard that, they would be like, "You haven't eaten sarmale?" And when I first tasted it, yeah, it wasn't what I expected. And I think back then we were just younger and the hype was just too much, especially on social media as well. But growing up now, I've come to also meet fellow Romanians who have said that they do not like sarmale, or maybe they just like the inside of it. And that is some relief because, I thought I was going cuckoo just because of that. So those are some things, specifically 5 things that I think that I won't really get used to in Romania and haven't been able to so far in, 4 years and a few months of staying here. I might redo this video, maybe come back to this video in a couple of years, maybe if I improve in any of these. But for the moment, this is what is happening now and has happened, throughout these years. If you have any similar experiences, I would like to know down in the comments below. If you're new here, please don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. Thank you for watching. And if you know someone who would like this video, please consider sharing. Bye bye.